The Blue Mountains Botanic Garden is on Darug country and sits within the Blue Mountains World Heritage Area.
Yeah, spotfires galore down here. We're talking about 60, 70 metre flame height.
In mid-December, the Gosper's Mountain mega fire swept through this area, and while firefighters and staff were able to save most of the garden's collection, it was a major battle and it came right up to the gate. The Botanic Gardens owns and manages about 180 hectares of the surrounding bush, and it was hit hard. About 90% of it burned. You can see there the edge of the formal garden. Beyond that line of green, the landscape is blackened as far as the eye can see. While the scene behind me might look grim and devastating, there are little signs of green hope starting to unfurl. Brett Summerell is the Chief Botanist at the Royal Botanic Gardens. We're going for a walk in the reserve to see how the plants are responding. So, Brett, how do plants, and I suppose more specifically, Australian plants, respond to fire?
Well, you see it in so many different ways. You see these big old ukes that are punching out epicomic growth, these new shoots that are coming out of the trunks like that, protected by this insulative coat of quite thick bark, and it has to be quite thick to protect it against the fires, but then it has the ability, these shoots, to punch through that bark and then start this new regrowth that we're seeing here. As you scan across the surface of the soil, you can see a whole range of different species of the seed in the seed bank that would have been there is germinating, and new life is popping up everywhere. Bracken fern is starting to pop out its croziers. The garnia is shooting and obviously quite charred when the fire came through, but already the new shoots are coming through quite strongly. And when you see the Dixonia ferns, the beautiful ferns there, quite a soft, water-dependent species, but already the new shoots are coming through, the croziers are coming through, and it looks, they'll be looking fantastic soon.
It's interesting because once you change your focus from what appears like total desolation, if you come down and look at ground level, there's so much popping out.
Yeah, there are. As you can see, there's all these beautiful eucalyptus seedlings popping up everywhere, a whole range of different species across the soil surface that are germinating already. All it requires is water. Add water and life. Once you start to look across, there's a lot of plants. I love these Banksias.
Look at this Banksia.
Yeah, so you can see the beautiful follicles have opened up, and there's the seed separators push the seed out. They've got a wing keel, so they may have been blown off into the environment some way, dispersed from the original tree. But that's a fantastic adaptation in these big old Banksias. So, I mean, it's a beautiful illustration of the mosaic effect you get with these sorts of fires, areas that are really intensely burned, and green patches in amongst it. One of the disturbing things is some of those rainforest gullies have burnt out, and that's not what we would expect to see burning at any time.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've got a swathe of forest canopy here that's still got the leaves on it, but then this area here, I mean, it's totally cleared. It's like someone has vacuumed everything off the surface.
Yeah, so that's obviously an indication that the fire in this particular patch here was much more intense and higher temperature than some of those other areas over there where the leaves are still hanging in, or we've even got the green canopy. And not having those leaves on the soil surface, that's really detrimental to the health. To have all of that nutrient, all of the microorganisms, they've all gone. And so you're likely to see longer term impacts from that can be quite detrimental to the ecosystem.
So in an area like this that's been really torched, what are the consequences on the regrowth and the species and their long-term survival?
Well, yeah, as you can see, it's very clear now. So there's doesn't seem to be much coming through in the way of seed germination. The eucalypts will recover and we'll start to see some sort of recovery from those, but it's all that understory species. If the soil has been effectively sterilised, we might see weedy species come in here and colonise that open ground, or it might just be a very long period of time, a much greater number of seasons before we start to see those species slowly colonising from the edges, from those less intense areas, so we start to see those species starting to reappear. So what we're seeing is a consequence of a changing climate. 2019 was the hottest and the driest on record for many places. Plants were already under stress, lots of trees were dying already, and this is like a double whammy, if you like, of the drought and these fires coming together to cause all sorts of problems. And while our vegetation is well adapted to fire, it can respond back and come back quite well, as we're seeing in places like this, but the scale of the fires, the vast nature of it, and these mega fires that we're seeing will have a negative impact on the vegetation, on beautiful vegetation like this that we're standing in.
My worry about this is that people are going to become really scared of trees.
Yeah, and I can see that that would be a natural thought in some people's minds, but we've got to remember that trees are absolutely critical for the environment, for us. Trees produce oxygen, trees store carbon dioxide. They will be part of the solution to a changing climate and how we mitigate it, and they'll also be important in how we adapt to it, to a changing climate. You know, standing under a shady tree is a fabulous thing. So we've got to remember that trees make us feel better as humans. Our psychological benefits, our learning benefits, our crime improvements, all are improved by having access to trees. Trees are critical for life. We need to look after them and treasure them.